Assalamualaikum to Sir Alif and a very good evening to all. So my group 3, will be debating about freedom of speech brings more good than harm. So without further ado, let's take a look what the governments have to present.
Good morning, Mr. Alif. So I'm the from the government side, which I support the point that we should have freedom of speech. So my first point is that freedom of speech it plays a critical role in supporting social change by allowing people to speak out against injustice and advocate for equality. So throughout the history, social progress has been driven by individuals and groups who exercise for their right for freedom of speech. So from the fight for gender equality to the struggle to LGBTQ plus right, this movement relied on the ability to share ideas and raise public awareness. So for instance, LGBTQ plus advocacy campaigns such as the fight for marriage equality, it began with individuals who bravely sharing their stories and demanding recognition of their rights. So freedom of speech, it empowers the community to challenge and inspire them so that they can bravely to express their own opinion. So if the world have without the ability to speak freely, many injustice will remain hidden and people would be afraid to raise their concerns, leaving problems such as corruptions, discriminations, and also exploitation. So freedom of speech, it really brings out this issue. So it unites the communities to encourage the public so that it can push for a change. So it is like a foundation of a just and equitable society. So for example, I'm giving is there's a social movement which is known as the hashtag Me Too movement. It was a movement where individual will share their experience about their experience on sexual harassment and assault. So it really raised a huge awareness towards the public. So with the freedom of speech, their voices can be amplified and treat and shared towards worldwide, and so that all these issue can be bring out and be shared to everyone. So that's all from me.
Alright, so we are done with the government. Let's take a look at the opposition side.
Good morning, sir. And now I will talk about the opposition side of the news. So while when you say the freedom of speech is important for speaking out against the injustices and raising awareness about the issues like gender inequality, human rights, and LGBT rights, it's not always enough on its own to bring about the real change. Simply voicing concerns doesn't guarantee the action, especially when deeper issues like systemic inequality or lack of access to resources stand in the way. So at the same time, the freedom of speech can sometimes be misused to spread the harmful ideas or misinformation. So from my perspective, I will say that the freedom of speech can sometimes lead to the rapid spread of false information, especially with the rise of social media. Platforms like Facebook, Telegram, and Instagram often amplify the misinformation, allowing it to go viral and mislead the large group of people. And this will create the confusion, damage the public trust, and can even cause the harm in the society. So the one clear example is during the COVID-19 pandemic. For the false claims like the vaccines causing the infertility or changing DNA will spread quickly on the platforms like WhatsApp and Facebook, and these rumors will lead to the vaccine hesitancy in many communities, which delay the efforts to control the virus and resulting in preventable death. On the another side is the politics. It is also shows the danger of misinformation. So during the Russia and Ukraine conflict, in the early days of the war, both sides used the platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok to spread the propaganda, manipulate the narratives, and incite the hate. So these false images and misleading videos circulated widely, making it difficult for people to discern the truth from fiction. So this example highlight how freedom of speech when misused can cause the serious harm from the public health crisis to political instability and violence. So while the right to speak freely is important, it must come with the responsibility and accountability to prevent such harmful consequences. And that's all from me. Thank you.
So let's see what the government has to say now.
Hi. So, Rylan, I do agree that you said about the misinformation towards the social platform, it can be spread quickly, but the solution for this issue is not to limit the freedom of speech. Instead of limiting the freedom of speech, um, educating people to be more responsible towards the online on their speech is more important rather than limiting people's freedom in their speech. So this as you said before, like misinformation can be spread quickly. It's mostly caused by people who they did not care, and they did not hold any, they think that their speech did not bring any uh it's not important toward the public, but actually their speech is the one who cause harmful effects towards the public. So for this, instead of totally restricting the freedom of speech, it's more important to focus on empowering people with critical thinking skill instead of spreading misinformation. So this is my point. So I will be continuing with my second point, which is the I think that freedom of speech, it promotes economic growth. So freedom of speech, it contributes towards economic growth by fostering innovations, transparency, and accountability in marketplace. So in a society where individuals and business can share ideas openly, uh, it caused the entrepreneurs to seek investment and collaborate with others to bring new products and new services to the market. Thus, freedom of speech, it really ensures transparency in the business practices. So whenever there's companies that engage in unethical working environment or behavior, such as false advertising or unsafe working condition, freedom of speech allows people to really brings out, expose these wrongdoings. So the accountability forces the business to improve their practices, which will build trust and encourage for fairer competition. So let's take an example for example, like the online product reviews. With the freedom of speech, it enables customers to share their honest feedback about products and services, and the transparency will push business to deliver a higher quality good while holding companies accountable for any unethical actions. So this really builds customer trust, which is essential for long-term economic stability. So that's all for me.
Alright, so we are done with the government. Let's look at the opposition. So, ladies and gentlemen, free speech is a cornerstone of democracy, but when misused, it can bring more harm than good, particularly in sensitive contexts like Malaysia. That's why we, as the opposition, we still strongly disagree that freedom of speech brings more good than harm. Before we dive in further, I would like to make a rebuttal on the government points earlier. Earlier, they said how free speech actually allows individuals to express their opinions without any censorship, and they said that by being open, it can lead to building their better trust between the entrepreneurs. We can't deny that, but I have to disagree with you because criticism may discourage investment. Exposing unethical practices through freedom of speech could deter the investors and also businesses from entering the market, especially if the criticism is exaggerated or misinterpreted. This could also slow the economic growth by reducing the flow of capital and limiting the opportunities for new enterprises. Let's move on to the government and look at the better side, which is the opposition side. My point will be comments on the 3R, which are the race, royal, and religion. In Malaysia, free speech is often exploited by individuals who use it as a shield to make inflammatory comments on social media. For instance, the provocative remarks made during the 2019 riots at the Seafield Sri Maha Mariamman Temple highlighted how sensitive comments on religion can actually escalate into physical violence. Social media actually amplifies these remarks, leading to heightened tensions, property damage, and even the loss of lives. Research supports on 2021 study by the Merdeka Center found that 64% of Malaysia believe social media plays a significant role in increasing racial and religious tensions. Furthermore, Malaysia's Communications and Multimedia Commission reported a 35% increase in cases of online abuse and hate speech from 2019 to 2022, much of it center on 3R issues. While free speech is essential, it should not be absolute. In a multicultural nation like Malaysia, where diversity is both a strength and a challenge, the misuse of free speech to provoke and divide must actually be curbed. Regulations and educations are necessary to strike a balance between this freedom and responsibility, ensuring that free speech uplifts rather than harms the society. So that is all from us. Thank you.